Hello, and thank you for tuning in. We are going to get into the next couple of chapters of the ancient book of Jubilees. Welcome in, listeners, subscribers. But before we do that, and welcome to Esoteric Guidance, Extraterrestrial Earth Angel. My name is Nehru, and I am an extraterrestrial Earth Angel, Gaia Beacon, a father of the Orisha, seated 2 seats to the right of Most High, that is the divine source, Erevat. Most refer to them as God, Yahweh. But before we get into the next couple of canonical chapters in the Book of Jubilees, I want to take a look at something. Okay, and this has been with me all day, so I want to, or at least all afternoon. And so I want to share, I want to talk with you and hope that there will be interaction. On this channel, unfortunately, there is very little interaction from the subscribers. There's far more interaction on the other channel, although that channel only has half the number of subscribers that this one does. Currently, there's a lot more interaction on that channel. For some reason, the subscribers on this channel, they do not interact, and perhaps part of that is because of the YouTube shadow banning and that, and whatever they've done to the algorithms to keep my videos or what have you from being seen on this particular channel. Again, because the other channel has actually less than half of the same amount of subscribers, 127 subscribers or so, which is less than half of what this channel has, and there's very little interaction with the subscribers on this channel. So, yeah, all right. So, I've been on this thing all afternoon about conscious awareness, okay? And I've asked a couple of questions here, okay? And I want to share this with you again before we get into the ancient book of Jubilees. Okay, so let's, and I've asked a question here. Okay, so I asked, what are the main hindrances to humans becoming conscious awareness? Okay, all right. So let's take a look here. And again, thank you so much for tuning in. Okay. So, and we have a couple of different, I have a couple of different tabs open so that we can look at these and consider these individually in our own lives. Okay. So what is the main hindrance to human beings becoming conscious dwellers and rather than unconscious dwellers? So less like a robot and more functioning through your intuition and your internal guidance system. Okay. Main hindrances to becoming more conscious include the inherent complexity of consciousness itself, the problem of consciousness, cognitive and emotional barriers such as overthinking, the ego, fear of judgment and attachment of thoughts and feelings, as well as external factors like distractions and toxic brain conditions that disrupt awareness. Now, I don't know about any toxic brain conditions. I don't know about that, okay? Because someone who, if autism is a neurological thing, those with autism are not walking around murdering other individuals. So what type of toxic brain, what is a brain? I consider autistic children and those with Down syndrome, I consider them the angels of this natural place. So, but what type of toxic brain conditions are they speaking of here? Okay, that disrupt awareness. The only toxic brain condition that I personally am aware of is allowing oneself to be susceptible to the evil. That is the only toxic brain condition that I see. Again, there are millions of mentally ill people on this planet who do not end up being murderers and rapists, okay, and molesters, okay, serial killers, okay. What is it? They do not become toxic. So what is it about this toxic brain. What is that? Okay? If you have any insight, I'd be interested in hearing about it. Okay? The hard problem of consciousness, it says. Conceptual and physiological hindrances. The philosophical challenge asks why physical brain processes give rise to subjective experiences, the what is it like aspect of awareness. So what is it like to murder someone? What is it like to, right? Okay? That's what it's speaking of. And I agree that is a hindrance. But to me, that's not a brain condition. That is an aware thought. You consciously think, what is it like? And that's a consideration. You think, what is it like to do this evil? What, just like someone would think, what would it be like to be the owner of a multi-billion-dollar computer company? That same person has the ability to think, what is it like to rape someone? But they don't. You see? So where is the distinction there? Where is the distinction there? Again, we're talking about human behavior. Okay? The language problem. Current language frameworks often struggle to adequately describe or analyze consciousness, making it difficult to discuss and understand. Well, that's interesting, and I really think that kind of falls on deaf ears. Today, the language barrier is about as thin as the music barrier in this world, and that is non-existent. The Japanese love Michael Jackson, Chinese love Michael Jackson, the Australians love Michael Jackson. It's universal. So that's about as ludicrous as saying that music is a language barrier. No, it's not. No, it's not. Okay? So, those who do not even speak fluent in English, right? So music is I want to say transformative, but music is translucent. Okay, music is translucent. Cognitive and psychological hindrances, overthinking and the ego. Now we're getting somewhere. The ability to think can also lead to self-created identities, egos, constant comparison and overthinking, which can hinder clarity and true self-awareness. Okay? Distraction and addiction to drama. Especially if you are in America. Okay? Reality TV is not even remotely close to reality TV. In fact, we need to ask that question. The mind often clings to drama and is addicted to distractions, finding stillness and the truth it brings to be frightening. One of the things that I thought about long ago, and I've spoken about this, is TV sitcoms. And I don't know if they've gotten away from it in recent years because I don't watch TV. The TV in the hotel isn't even plugged up. Okay? But, and for those of you who are unaware, I am in Malaysia and I've been traveling in Southeast Asia since May of this year. And so, okay, I'm not running or hiding from anything. I'm on social media all over the place, okay? And in fact, the other channel on YouTube is for private investigators, FBI, CIA, and DEA investigations. So I'm definitely not trying to hide from anyone, okay? But one of the questions and things that I realized many, many years ago is how TV sitcoms has started to take away the value of the man in family. Okay? And I read a little bit about this. And what I did read talked about how the women's rights movement started to change that. So, and Leave It to Beaver, the man gave the great advice. The man was the leader. The wife went to the man for, those things, right? Those sort of things. And then with the women's movement, and there's nothing wrong with that because women and men are equal. We just have different roles. Okay? All right? So I have testosterone, a woman does not. Okay? A woman can't do, most women, okay, unless they are on some type of drug, okay, cannot do the push-ups that I can do. They cannot do the pull-ups that I can do. Okay? There's a reason for that. Because the male being, the masculine being, was meant to till the ground because of what happened in their disobedience to Most High. He said, you are to till the ground. So man was given strength, testosterone, more muscles, and so on and so forth in order to accomplish those things. Women were given breasts in order to feed. There's a reason why men do not lactate. Okay, so we are equal, but we have very different roles. But I wonder how is it that TV shows like Everybody Loves Raymond, The King of Queens, According to Jim, I wonder how these shows transitioned from what the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was. You remember Dr. Phil, right? Or Uncle Phil. I said Dr. Phil. You remember Uncle Phil, okay? Great advice. Him and Vivian, they got along well. He was the man of the house. He wasn't dumbed down. He wasn't, right? Any of that. Where was the transition, and when did they take the dick out of the man's hands, to put it plainly? When? And that has tremendous influence on society in America, okay? Or wherever else those TV shows are aired, okay? Because man is depicted as now this imbecile who can't do anything right, and they're only interested in how many times they have sex with their wife, which is the dumbest thing I have ever thought of. Like, why would I be discussing with my friends how many times me and my wife fuck or make love? Like, why am I discussing that with my friends? And why is that a regular topic? Like, really? I mean, okay? All right, so, and then men are only interested in sports, sex, and drinking, beer, whatever. I mean, it couldn't be further from the truth. In my life, it couldn't be further from the truth, okay? And I just wonder about these things and these behaviors and what culture and these influences. Again, reality TV is not even remotely close to reality. How these things have come about, have come to shape human behavior, specifically, again, in America, because that's where I spent the majority of my life, outside of 2 years in Germany and whatever travel I've done outside of the U.S., okay? Just very interesting. Really, really, that intrigues me and that interests me, okay? What keeps the general public from becoming consciously aware? Factors preventing public conscious awareness include individuals being in lower states of consciousness, psychological barriers like self-deception, and the influence of external factor. Okay, I think that's saying pretty much the same thing. I have one more tab here to look at. Why are humans more interested in entertainment than the truth? Let's take a look at this answer here. And again, thank you so much for your patience. I hope that this is piquing your interest, or at least questions within you, perhaps questions you've already asked yourself. Okay? Humans are often more interested in entertainment than the truth because entertainment provides instant pleasure, a sense of escape from life's stresses, and fulfills an evolutionary need for novelty and excitement that dull modern life often lacks. Okay? So if someone's life lacks excitement and novelty, that seems like something someone can do something about, right? No one told you that you had to go home, or no one told you that you had to go to school, well, they did, they lied. Go to school, get a good education, get a degree, get a job, white picket fence, a wife, 2.5 kids, and a dog. No one told you that well, again, they told you that you had, but the individual who is living that life and is bored because it lacks novelty and excitement, they chose that life, and every day they wake up, they have an opportunity to change that. The pleasurable and immersive flow state associated with entertainment is more immediately rewarding than complex or difficult truths, which may require significant cognitive effort or cause discomfort. So, just again, some food for thought. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get into the next few chapters here. Okay. And again, thank you so much for those of you who have continued to listen to this series. I really do appreciate your tuning in. It means a great deal to me to know that there are those out who are listening, and enjoying the information. Okay, and actually, I think I need to take a look and see what chapter we left off, because I do not recall. I should have checked that before I came on here. I hope you are enjoying your day. It is 11:23 in the evening in Malaysia, currently 9:29. Okay, 929. You might be seeing that angel number, or if you are a Libra and it's your birthday season, happy birthday to you. Okay, so we are into chapter 39. Chapter 39. Okay. I believe we're almost finished here. Yeah, I'm not sure how many more. 9 or 10 more pages, it looks like. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get into chapter 39. And again, thank you so much for listening to me express my, I don't know what you would call it, my desire for humans to be better, just to be better. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And Jacob dwelt in the land of his fathers' sojourners, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob, and Joseph were 17 years old when they took him down into the land of Egypt. Okay? Joseph was 17 when he was given over to Potiphar. And an eunuch of Pharaoh, the chief cook, bought him, and he set Joseph over all his house, and the blessing of the Lord came upon the house of the Egyptian on account of Joseph. And the Lord prospered him in all that he did, and the Egyptian committed everything into the hands of Joseph, for he saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord prospered him in all that he did. Okay? I hope that it can be said of you that wherever you go, that place prospers. Okay? Again, I'm reminded of often, and again, this is not bragging, this is not boasting, patting myself on the back or anything. Again, my story, my journey, I hope is a light for you. Okay? The witchcraft that was done that caused kidney failure and that, I hope it's an awareness call for you to be aware of these things actually being real, okay? And poisonings and things like that have gone on with me. I hope it's, again, an awakening for those of you who listen to this, okay? I don't brag about my life because I don't know. I'm just a lot more humble than that. There's no need for me to brag about my life. Okay. In fact, my journey would probably scare the hell out of most people. So I don't walk around just talking about it like that. Okay. But I hope that you can say that about you, or at least you are starting to recognize. I started to recognize many, many years ago about my own self. And when I walk into a place, it could be a gas station, and if there's no one in there, by the time I check out, there's 7, 8 people in line on a restaurant. It could be no one in there, and when I leave, by the time I leave out of it, the restaurant is full, and it could be 3 o'clock in the afternoon, not lunchtime or breakfast or dinner in the middle of the afternoon, because there is something that in that vibration that you carry. Okay, there's a spirit of prosperity that's on you. Okay. And the Egyptian committed everything into the hands of Joseph, for he saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord prospered him in all that he did. And Joseph's appearance was comely, and very beautiful or handsome was his appearance. And his master's wife lifted her eyes and saw Joseph. And she loved him and besought him to lie with her. But he did not surrender his soul, and we've read this in other canonical texts, and he remembered the Lord and the words which Jacob his father used to read from amongst the words of Abraham, that no man should commit fornication with a woman who has a husband, that for him the punishment of death has been ordained in the heavens before the Most High God, and the sin will be recorded against him in the eternal books continually before the Lord. Okay? And this is before the consummation of Yeshua, okay, that opened up the door for humans after the fall of man to be reconciled back to Most High on the individual basis. You can't ride the coattails of your mother, father, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, minister. You can't ride their coattails. You have to purify your own self. Okay, you have to ascend on your own. Okay, no one can hang on to my coattails as I ascend, thankfully. Okay, will be recorded against him in the eternal books continually before the Lord. And Joseph remembered these words and refused to lie with her. And she besought him for a year, but he refused and would not listen. But she embraced him and held him fast in the house in order to force him to lie with her, and closed the doors of the house and held him fast. But he left his garment in her hands and broke through the door and fled without from her presence. And the woman saw that he would not lie with her, and she calumniated calumniated Why do I feel like I'm not saying that word correct? Him in the presence of his Lord, saying, Thy Hebrew servant, whom thou lovest, sought to force me so that he might lie with me. So now she's lying. Okay, that's Jezebel. Jezebel to want to sleep with someone and you're married, and a Jezebel now to lie because he did not want to sleep with you. And it came to pass, when I lifted up my voice, oh, Divine just told me that someone said that about me. Someone lied and said that I did sleep with them, but in actuality I didn't. Divine just told me that someone said that. That's one of the lies that's floating around Central Florida about me. I haven't been there since 2023. But Divine said that's one of the lies that someone said, is that you slept with them, but you did not. Divine just said that. And it came to pass, when I lifted up my voice, that he fled and left his garment in my hands when I held him. And he brake through the door, and the Egyptian saw the garment of Joseph and the broken door, and heard the words of his wife, and cast Joseph into prison into the place where prisoners were kept, whom the king imprisoned. And he was there in the prison, and the Lord gave Joseph favor in the sight of the chief of the prison guards. Okay, so what would we call that today? We would call that the what would we call that? The word is almost there. When you are in charge of the prison, you are the I can't think of it. What is the name of the individual who was in charge of the entire prison? Warden. I already answered my question before. I answered the question before. Okay, so the warden. Okay, so he found favor with the warden. All right. Thank you, Most High. And compassion before him, for he saw the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper, even whatever he was doing while he was imprisoned. And he committed all things into his hands, and the chief of the prison guards knew of nothing that was with him. For Joseph did everything, and the Lord perfected it. And he remained there 2 years, and in those days Pharaoh, king of Egypt, was wroth against his 2 eunuchs, against the chief butler and against the chief baker. And he put them in the ward in the house of the chief cook, in the prison where Joseph was kept. And the chief of the prison guards appointed Joseph to serve them, and he served before them. And they both dreamed a dream, the chief butler and the chief baker. And they told it to Joseph. And as he interpreted the dream, so it befell them. And Pharaoh restored the chief butler to his office, and the chief baker he slew. Okay, so the chief baker was the guilty party, and the butler was found innocent. As Joseph had interpreted to them. But the chief butler forgot Joseph in the prison, although he had informed him what would befall him, and did not remember to inform Pharaoh how Joseph had told him, for he forgot. That's interesting. You tell someone, you forget about someone who told you the truth. Isn't that interesting? And something that came to pass. That's interesting, that they forgot about Joseph. Nowadays, everybody want to talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move the lips. Just a bunch of gibberish, and motherfuckers act like they forgot about Dre. Right? So they act like they forgot about him. And in those days, Pharaoh dreamed 2 dreams in one night concerning a famine which was to be in all the land. And he awoke from his sleep and called all the interpreters of the dreams that were in Egypt and magicians, and told them of his 2 dreams, and they were not able to declare them. Okay, there's no doubt that Most High kept their third eye and crown closed, because he was going to use Joseph to tell him this dream to free him in order to get Joseph promoted and not just released out of prison after 2 years. And then the chief butler remembered Joseph and spake of him to the king, and he brought him forth from the prison, and he told the 2 dreams before him. And he told his 2 dreams before him. And he said before Pharaoh that his 2 dreams were one. Okay. And he said unto him, 7 years shall come, in which there shall be plenty over all the land of Egypt. And after that 7 years of famine, such a famine as has not been in all the land. And now let Pharaoh appoint overseers in all the land of Egypt, and let them store up food in every city throughout the days of the years of plenty. And there will be food for the 7 years of famine, and the land will not perish through the famine, for it will be very severe. Okay. Also, I want to thank someone Um, and it has to be a dedicated viewer. Okay. I posted today, the book of Hermas, the second book of Hermas. We covered the next couple of commands in that book. And that video has one view, okay? And so to you, whoever you are, again, this is a special thank you. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to that. Yeah, thank you so much, okay? And the Lord gave Joseph favor and mercy in the eyes of Pharaoh. Divine, if they do not listen to any of these other videos here about the ancient book of Jubilees, please bring them to this reading so that they can hear my thank you and appreciation for them. But I'm sure they listen to the others as well. And the Lord gave Joseph favor and mercy in the eyes of Pharaoh, and Pharaoh said unto his servants, we shall not find such a wise and discreet man as this man. For the Spirit of the Lord is with him, and he appointed him the second in all his kingdom, and gave him authority over all Egypt, and caused him to ride in the second chariot of Pharaoh. It's pretty plush. And he clothed him with byssus garments, and he put a gold chain upon his neck, and a herald proclaimed before him, El wa abir, El wa abir, and placed a ring on his hand, and made him ruler over all his house, and magnified him, and said unto him, only on the throne shall I be greater than thou. And Joseph ruled over all the land of Egypt, and all the princes of Pharaoh. All of this is going on while his brothers are still acting like he died. And Isaac and Rebekah are still under the impression that he is no longer physically on this earth. And all his servants and all who did the king's business loved him, for he and all the princes of Pharaoh, for he walked in uprightness, for he was without pride and arrogance, and he had no respect of persons, and did not accept gifts, but he judged in uprightness all the people of the land. Anyone who says that you are not to judge, religious ass people say that, ooh, don't judge, lest ye be judged. That's because their dirty ass hands are dirty and their heart is wicked, a contrite heart. That's the reason why they say that. I judge every day. If you are living an unconscious life, then yes, you cannot judge. But once you awaken to who you really truly are, you are called to judge. Light from dark, right from wrong, good from bad, righteousness from lawlessness. You are called to be a judge. So don't judge others is a bunch of bullshit. If I didn't judge the situations that I was in, I would not have walked away. And it doesn't matter where it was, Florida, Arizona, wherever, I would not have walked away if I did not judge situations. Okay? To be of non-judgment is a karmic, low vibrational energy, and that's a lie. You judge the man or woman who's abusive to you. That's why you get out of those situations. You have to judge. You have to judge. Okay? And the land of Egypt was at peace before Pharaoh because of Joseph, for the Lord was with him and gave him favor and mercy for all his generations before all those who knew him and those who heard concerning him. And Pharaoh's kingdom was well ordered, and there was no Satan and no evil. Hot damn. It says no Satan and no. no Satan, no evil. No Satan, no evil. Okay? Am I getting that in the screen? Let's see. Right, I have to point. Here. No Satan and no evil. How about that? Because of a righteous man or a righteous woman, if you are female. No Satan, no evil. That's amazing. All right. Evil person therein. And the king called Joseph's name Cephantophans, and gave Joseph to wife the daughter of Potiphar. I'm going to look that name up here. The daughter of the priest of Heliopolis, the chief cook. Okay. And on the day that Joseph stood before Pharaoh, he was 30 years old. So he went in at 17 and then at 30 when he stood before Pharaoh. And in that year, Isaac died. His dad had passed. Okay, he was unaware of this. Okay, so 13 is the number of death. 13, again, for my own journey, I was an accountant for 13 years and then that occupation died. Okay, and I began to awaken as I began to go through my dark night of the soul and ego deaths and that sort of thing. Okay, I was told prior in 2014 that my only job on this planet is to be essentially a teacher. That is my only goal. That is my job here. I was told that by a prophet in a grocery store with the woman who I thought at that point was my mother, Judy. Come to find out she's not. Okay? Again, my story will scare the hell out of some people, so I don't say it to brag. Okay? Took Pharaoh. Okay, 30 years old, so 13 years. When he stood before Pharaoh, and in that year Isaac died. It is also significant that Isaac lived to be 188 years old. Okay, and in his 188th year, Joseph turned 30. So do you see the amount of years between them? Okay, that's why age is nothing but just that on this earth. It's nothing but days of the week. Okay, that's all that it is. And it came to pass, as Joseph had said in the interpretation of his two dreams, according as he had said it, there were 7 years of plenty all over the land of Egypt, and the land of Egypt abundantly produced, one measure producing 1,800 measures. And Joseph gathered food into every city until they were full of corn, until they could no longer count and measure it, for it was for its multitude. Excuse me. Okay, how long is? And where are we at with time? We are right at 39 minutes. Okay. All right. So we will stop there. We won't continue to the 41st verse or chapter this time around. Okay. So again, thank you so much again, everyone who tunes in and listens to these. Again, talking about consciousness. Let me ask one more question here before we go, because again, this is really, it's just stirring in me, and and when something's stirring in me, I have to research and look until whatever that is gets satisfied, whatever that happens to be. In this case, it's divine guidance. What is it about the truth that scares humans? Now we're getting into some meat. Now we're getting into some meat. Okay, what is it about the truth that scares humans? It invites us to strip away the comforting layers of denial we've carefully constructed around ourselves. Again, ego images. We fear that by acknowledging the truth, we may expose our weaknesses, our failures, or our insecurities. It's a daunting proposition. It should be a joyous occasion to find out the truth about yourself or anyone else. It should be a joyful thing to walk your truth, to live out loud, no matter what you choose to do. Okay? What type of lifestyle you choose. It should not be a daunting proposition, but it's a daunting proposition, one that can leave us feeling naked in the face of judgment. Wow. I am feeling, and I have been all day. Really, yesterday, day since the cord cutting. Really, since the cord cutting, been feeling superb. I mean, just light, amazing, free. Okay, no one on my coattails. I'm not worried about anybody. You know, whatever, woman wise or anything else. Again, I am free to date if I choose to, free to whatever, and that is such an amazing, amazing, amazing feeling. Okay? And so again, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Nehru. I am an extraterrestrial esoteric guide and beacon here on the planet. I am a descendant of Most High, specifically on the earth, Yeshua. I am a descendant of Issa, the Ascended Master. Thank you so much as always for tuning in, and as always, be encouraged.